So let's get to the real deal. Why we're here today, Bert?
Oh yeah,
Super Bowl.
yes, I've
Coming
heard of
up.
it. Yeah,
I've heard of it. There's some semi-important game that's
so,
happening.
yeah.
We
I
have
knew I had to do something on Sunday. I just couldn't put my finger on it.
and we really, we really should be doing it on Saturday, but that's it.
I mean, I don't know how many people need to. There needs to be another petition going around because I think there was already one. But like, come on.
Who does Corey have to give a handy to get the Super Bowl on a Saturday? I think we'll sign. I think me and Bert will sign him up for that. Yeah, he'll do it. He'll definitely do it. So, yeah, Bert. I mean, let's just get to it. Like, who's going to win this game? I don't want to. I don't want to deal with all the nonsense.
I don't want to like. This is you hear all these great stories like the McCaffrey legacy and the things like, oh, the team that wears white is like 16 and whatever, know, and it's just you're hearing all these things that put it in favor of San Francisco. And this, look, that's who I'm pulling for. I do think they're due. I think Kyle Shanahan deserves one. It would be cool to see Christian McCaffrey win a Super Bowl as well. But I'm not going to do what we've done the past 4 GD weeks. Or, I mean, well, now 4 weeks, even though they didn't play last week. But the 3 weeks before that is count out the Chiefs. You can't. And the momentum that they have. It's something that I think teams – look, I think that the Niners need to watch tape. They need to watch the Dolphin game. They need to watch the Bills game. They need to watch the Ravens game. And they need to see how to – I'm kind of taking the Bills out of this equation because they did have a strong run game, but I think a lot of that was attributed to Josh Allen scrambling and trying to get yards. And he got 72 of them. I mean, when you look at between the Buffalo game as well as Baltimore's game, the 2 leading rushers on either of those teams was their quarterback. Yeah, which means Kansas City's defense is coming out strong with coverage, but on top of that, they're coming with blitzes too. So it's one of those things where if you can figure out how to dismantle that defense and get a solid run game going with Christian McCaffrey, and then Brock Purdy has a consistent arm and they have targets like that I think is how you start to dismantle. And then you hope that the Niners defense that shows up is the same defense that showed up in the second half of the Detroit game, not the first half, because if you give them an inch, like if they come out playing like they played Detroit, it's over from the start, from opening whistle. It's literally going to be nothing but the Chiefs. And you have to dismantle that. And that's from an offensive standpoint. I think from defense, you have to find a way. First, you have to cover Travis Kelce. You do. Yes. Yeah. Like he's going to be the biggest factor in itself. And then once you eliminate all the threats there, you have to contain Mahomes. You have to contain him mobily. You have to contain him with his arm, and you have to make sure that they're 3 and out, plain and simple. One of the biggest thing that I think, aside the Dolphins hurting the Dolphins, but in that Dolphin game, from the start, they were huge 3rd down conversions. Even like I'm talking Chiefs, 3rd and 20, and they're making them because they're just letting up, and that's the momentum that gives the Chiefs inch by inch, getting them, of course, back into the game, and in a quite literal sense too. So I really want to see a Niners win, but oh man, I think it's gonna be a close game. I don't think it's gonna be a high scoring game at all.
So I was looking at some of the prop bets, Patrick Mahomes, 36.5 pass attempts. I think I would go over.
I would go over. Yeah. 100%.
They're going to have to. They're not going to be able to run.
He averages above that anyways.
Yeah, right? But the Niners defense is not going to let him. I don't know if you're going to throw in this game.
2 out of his 3 playoff games so far have been, I think, for 39 attempts and 41 attempts. The only one that was lower, I think, was the Bills game.
Yeah. Over under 25.5 pass completions. So he averaged 23.5 for the regular season.
Yeah.
So, but he's hit. Man, I don't know, man. Like that's rough. That's a tough bet. I don't know. Completions, I would assume so. See, I agree with you. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I think it's going to be a lot of running between both teams. I know that's what the That's what the Steelers are going to do. It's going to be a lot of short
The
passes.
Niners.
I'm sorry. What am I doing today? What am I doing? It's been a long day.
You want to know what happened? You woke up this morning, you checked social media, you saw Drake's dick, and the rest of the day was gone. You're like, I can't get that out of my head now. Like,
yeah, saw his, and then I saw somebody without one at the job.
Yeah,
so
that was
So
you went two extremes, one and then the none.
I know.
Yeah,
Jesus. I mean, it washed my eyes out with pure alcohol.
Yeah.
So
and for those listening, when Jerm said he saw one without one, that's not a euphemism for anything else. He saw someone that was, it was supposed to be there. It had since been removed, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, please do. The key to this, the biggest X factor for me in this game is George Kittle, because he's been a non-factor. Yeah. I expect him to have a big play in the Super Bowl. Like, teams have paid and he it's the recipe for it, because you have Debo, you have Brandon Ayuk, you have Christian McCaffrey, you have a lot of things going on the 49ers offense. George Kittle's kind of been, I'm not going to say forgotten about, but he hasn't been as involved as he has been in past years. And I think to the point where people forget that he's one of the, there was a few years ago, like not even like 2 years ago, we were talking about if him or Travis Kelce are the best tight ends in the league. Like, it was, and that was when Travis Kelce was really good. Like, not this down year that Travis Kelce's been having. And then he just has these magical performances in these big games in the playoffs or at the, towards the end of the season. But Travis Kelce hasn't really been good, not the, well, I shouldn't say that, but not the Travis Kelce that we remember the last couple of years. So, speaking of remember, do you remember the first Super Bowl you've watched? Somebody asked me that earlier today, and I thought,
oh my God.
What's the first Super Bowl you remember watching? I think the first one I remember watching was in 2000, the Rams Titans. I remember that game. Like, I remember watching it. I remember where I was, because it was the first year I had moved back from upstate New York back down to New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I remember being at my uncle's house, because I've never watched a Super Bowl really. I was too young for the Bills, 49ers, Bills, Giants, Bills, Cowboys, Super Bowls. Like,
probably for the best.
Definitely for the best.
Yeah.
And if I did watch them, it was like me and my granddad only. Like, there wasn't Super Bowl parties. We lived in the mountains of upstate New York. But I remember when I came down, and that was the first time I went to a Super Bowl party. And it was like a big deal at my uncle's house. He had that big ass box projector TV that's like the size of a full size bed, So
probably weighs 12 tons.
Yeah, 12 tons. You had to get like 8 people to roll it into the house. So, but I do remember. I remember that game. That was Andre Dyson. That was the Kurt Warner. That was the game that the Titans. The guy fell at the 1 yard line, and they lost, and the Rams won that game. So that was the first game I remember. First Super Bowl I remember.
First one I remember is probably the first one I really, really cared about, which was in 2001. Like, that's the one when I think, like, I'm sure if I really thought about it, I probably remember watching other ones, but the one that's vividly burned into my mind is 2001. It was Giants, Baltimore.
Yeah.
Of course, being a Giant fan, first time I remember consciously seeing, I'll say, because born in '86, they had won 2 Super Bowls. I was just too young to even remember and care about it. But and then I just remember the likes of Ray Lewis and Shannon Sharp and that whole team just shitting on the Giants completely, and Jason Sehorn getting burned multiple times. It was a sad day. Yeah.
So I just thought about it earlier, and I just kind of was like, man, I remember what the first damn game. I remember watching that Rams game, and not caring who won. It just was an exciting game. Like Torrey Holt. I mean, there was a lot of good players back then.
Torrey Holt.
It was good times. Good times. So I want the Niners to win bad. Brock Purdy winning a Super Bowl from being
Mr. Irrelevant.
That would be the greatest football story ever written.
100%.
The last pick in the draft. And this is not, speaking of Baltimore, this is not a Trent Dilfer situation.
No.
He's just there. He just
or a Joe Flacco situation.
Right. I don't know. Joe Flacco made some pretty good throws in that. He did his thing in that Super. He was a Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah,
Super Bowl MVP. But in terms like either way, and yeah, I'll give to your credit, that Baltimore defense that Joe Flacco had was the driver mainly of the team, but Joe Flacco was also really good. But again, it's not like Brock Purdy is just there for the ride, right? He's not. He just doesn't happen to be the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers. He won them games to get there. The matter of fact, in the NFC title game, made really big plays with his legs in the second half of that versus the Lions. Willed that team to win. They won that game because of Brock Purdy. And so in the Super Bowl, he has the chance to not only cement his legacy, and nobody's going to put him in the Hall of Fame off of the Super Bowl win, but all of that, he's Mr. Irrelevant Cinderella story type deal that people kind of been giving him is going to be over. It's like he's going to be a legit quarterback, especially if he goes out there and I don't want to say outperforms Patrick Mahomes, but has a respectable performance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He can't have less than 200 yards and like an interception and a touchdown. Like he has to have. I can live with an interception, but you better have 2 or 3 touchdowns and like almost 300 yards to go.
Oh, he's got to compete. Plain and simple. He can't just. Yeah, no. That's going to make or break. Yeah. His legacy. Plain and simple. I know he's still got a lot of years left, but I mean, you can't get a build up like this and then come up and not even do anything. So yeah, he's got you're right. He's got to get 2 or 3, and then 1 interception and call it that. And he's got to be damn near accurate.
I look at this matchup on paper. I mean, the matchup screams San Francisco.
It does, yeah.
But the problem is, and what you alluded to earlier, is we can't do it no more. We can't.
No, because on paper, the matchup with them in Baltimore looked Baltimore.
Just like now again, Baltimore has a history, and specifically Lamar Jackson has a history of not coming up in the clutch. We don't know what Brock Purdy's going to do. You know what I mean? I guess you could say that about Kyle Shanahan, because his legacy is on the line too here. Like his legacy, to the point where I saw some media heads talking about, hey, if Kyle Shanahan don't get it done this year, maybe you fire him, bring in Bill Belichick. I mean, that's
someone might have said that last week. You heard it here first. Stuff about sports was brought up.
Somebody very smart, I believe, on this show said that. So
that's what I'm talking about. That's why he's the MVP. That's why he's the GOAT.
Just love conspiracy shit. I love it.
I love it.
Did you before? Did you see? I don't know if you've seen this circulated. I saw this on Instagram today. A video of people legit pulling clips from the Detroit San Fran game. From between the first half and the second half, and pulling clips saying players were pulling up and that the NFL was really scripted and they knew San Fran was going the whole time. And in my head, I'm like, look, as much as I love conspiracy theories just because they're entertaining, especially about football, it's just dude, really could. I mean, come on.
You know who's pushing those conspiracy theories?
Liberal media.
Liberal media.
There it is.